Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And just please, guys, if you're going to be face palming tonight, which it's going to happen, okay? So if you're going to face palm tonight, there's going to be face palm injuries, okay? So make sure you have your lotion, handy, just in case you get those burns on your face from face palming too much. And Coctopus.
Oh, I got the lotion handy, buddy.
I'm sure you do. Coctopus, make sure you take off your sunglasses before you face palm because we don't want you to break your famous glasses there, your sunglasses, okay? And that's just an advance warning to you guys.
Gonna break them.
Gonna break them. So, guys, tonight, at least for, I should say, the pre-debate show here is discussion. We're going to be discussing a few things here. I'm going to be proposing a few questions here, but the debate tonight is between Bill Nye and Ken Ham, and the debate topic tonight for the debate is creation a viable model of origins in today's modern scientific era? So we're going to be getting into that a little bit here. So let's go around the room and introduce yourself. Let's start with Steve Shives. Hey, Steve, thanks for coming out tonight. What's going on?
Oh, hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here in such august company. Not only Robert Price, but also Coctopus. It's great to be here. I'm glad. I think we're going to have a good discussion, and I hope that the debate is at least going to be fun to watch. So.
Darkmatter2525.
Hi, I just want for inviting me. And my channel is Darkmatter2525 on YouTube. I make cartoons about religion.
Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. And Dr. Robert M. Price, welcome.
Well, great to be back. I probably do a Bible Geek podcast after the festivities tonight. I host the Bible Geek, the Human Bible, and the Lovecraft Geek these days, and writing books and stories and having a lot of fun. It's great to have some with you guys tonight.
Thank you for coming. Coctopus Prime, what's going on, brother?
Hey, how you doing? Everyone should know me. I basically just piss and moan about Fox News mostly, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the part where the guy takes out the sledgehammer and hits the watermelon. Oh shit, that's Gallagher. My bad. We'll just have to watch Bill Nye take out a sledgehammer and smack the ham.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to this shit.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. Negation of P. What's up, man?
Not much, and as most people know, I'm nobody from nowhere. No, I'm one of the other co-hosts to Skeptic Fence, and I'm really honored to be here, guys. I think this is going to be really fun. So, thanks.
Absolutely. And Matthew Steele, what's going on, man?
I not much. I think I'm in the wrong hangout. I thought that I was here to talk about Justin Bieber getting arrested, so I think I'm just in the wrong place. But I usually just get invited to these things because I'm so darn handsome. That's the only thing that I can...
Well, you got some competition with Darkmatter2525 here, so you better watch out.
That's why Live Life told us to get the lube out, is because you were on.
Hey, whatever works.
Oh, you guys are crazy, man. So, yeah, it's a pleasure to have all you guys, and you guys are my friends, of course, and I enjoy talking to you guys. But I want to break it open here. Let's get into a little discourse here and go around the room here. I read this article here about Bill Nye, what this guy, this blogger, felt about Bill Nye. His name is Michael Leamy, and it's Bill Nye, the Debating Guy. And this is what he had to say about it. And it's really short, but I want to get your. I'm going to propose a question, see what you guys think about it. He wrote here, tomorrow, a man I admire will place himself into the maw of irrationality, and he will not try to get himself devoured. He will travel back in time to a point in human history where magic and voodoo ruled over every action, where a man's ability to beat down an animal for food was one of the greatest strengths, and a woman's ability to produce healthy spawns, hers. He's going to sit at the front of a room facing humanity's past, and he is going to tell them to grow up. He will not succeed. Now, my question I would propose to you guys is, let's open up the discussion with this question is, what do you hope Bill Nye brings to this debate, and what should he mention in this debate? What should his approach be, or what strategy would you have? What strategy would you like to promote, or what strategy would you have against Ken Ham? So let's go around the room, and Steve Shives will open up with you.
Well, from where I sit, the thing to remember about debates like this is that, with the exception of maybe a few people who watch it, it's probably not going to change anybody's mind, because the truth is the case that Bill Nye has already been made. I mean, it's not necessarily Bill Nye making the case for evolution or making the case for a naturalistic universe. That case has been made by far, far more people than just Bill Nye. And the information is there. So at this point, really, if you don't accept the vast consensus of scientific knowledge, it's some form of ignorance on your part. It's willful ignorance, or it's just innocence of the facts. So for the most part, I don't think debates like this are really going to shift people's minds in any large way. So to me, the point is for it to be entertaining, to see my viewpoint, which I share for the most part, I think, with Bill Nye, to see it represented well, to see Bill go out there and call Ken Ham on his bullshit and correct the factual inaccuracies that I'm sure are going to be flooding out of the guy's mouth, and just not let him get away. If Ken Ham says something that is just out and out false, which I suspect he might do at some point during the evening, to just not let him get away with that. And Bill Nye is a guy in a unique position where not only does he have a scientific background, but he has a lot of pop culture recognition. He's Bill Nye the Science Guy. Everybody knows who he is, and he's a friendly, acceptable face. And if I were Bill Nye, I would go out on stage tonight and I would say, hey, look, you know who I am. A lot of you probably watched me on TV when you were kids. I'm not an evil atheist scientist guy. I know what I'm talking about. I have a background in this. I'm not going to tell you something I don't think is true, or that you could not go and find out for yourself whether it's true or not. And if this guy on the other side of the stage tries to tell you something that is not true, I'm going to point that out. Beyond that, I don't really know what else he could do.
Exactly. No, very, very great points there. Thank you very much. Let's move over to Darkmatter2525. What do you have to say about that? And the question was, what do you hope Bill Nye brings to the debate, and what he should mention in this debate, or what he should mention in this debate? How would you go about it?
Well, unfortunately, I think that debates like these have more of an entertainment value and aren't great ways of ascertaining the truth about a particular subject, because a lot of it depends on who happens to be more charismatic. But that being said, I'm hoping that Bill Nye is able to reach a lot of people who might be watching, who are closer to being on the fence. You know, there's probably not a whole lot of people who are on the fence that's going to be watching, but I hope there is. And there is, and I hope that Bill Nye can reach them. And I'm not sure the best way to do that. You know, it's when we're talking about groups of people, you know, it's a little more difficult. I think maybe if he's just doesn't let Ken Ham try to go on these tangents and try to avoid issues and press a certain point, and don't let him get away with stuff, bait and switch and all that tried and true creationist tactics we see so often, you know, and just don't let up on the guy, you know. And
don't let up on the guy, you know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to take too much time. So
let's switch this up a little bit. Matthew Steele.
I honestly, I don't think this debate is a good idea. That's not to say that I'm not supportive of the. It's not that I'm not supportive of confronting creationism, because I am. I don't think that this particular debate is a good idea because, as far as I know, Bill Nye has no debate experience, and debates are not won based on the points. They're won, as Dark Matter pointed out, based in large part on the charismatic presentation of the people involved. Who has more of a skill, if you will, at swaying the audience. That's something that Christopher Hitchens was tremendously good at, even though strong arguments could be made that he lost some of his debates. He was a tremendously charismatic and engaging debater. That is what people remember, and that is what ends up sticking in their minds. If it's just a matter of data being presented and defended, then that's different. And people who want to be educated about the subject matter, I'm sure are going to be very engaged by Nye's presentation, but I don't think that he is well served, nor is the scientific community, by this debate. That being said, I think that if he approaches it, as I was saying in the promo show we did the other day, Joe, if he approaches it where he's basically ignoring Ken Ham's attempt to sidetrack the discussion and also, as has been pointed out, use bait and switch tactics. If he just focuses on presenting a calm, thoughtful, reasoned argument for why creationism just isn't viable in, well, much less the 20th century, but the 21st century, it's not even a serious subject. If he approaches it from that direction, I think he's going to do much better than trying to just handle Ham's claims one at a time. I think that's a recipe for disaster. So I hope that's the way it goes. And that's all I really have to say.
No, thank you. Yeah, I agree. Negation of P?
Well, I think I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum there. I mean, where Matthew thinks it's a bad idea, I'm absolutely in agreement that it should be going on. And I know that I tend to be the minority here. It seems like the entire atheist community thinks it's a bad idea. But as most of you know, I like to confront things head on. And I actually think that Nye is the perfect spokesperson here, because he's not a scientist. He's an engineer, and he is, for the most part, just an entertainer. I mean, that's what he's done for his entire life. Now, granted, his entertainment comes with a very good understanding of science and, disseminating that knowledge. But he's respected enough to where people are going to listen to him, but not so respected that it's going to elevate Ham's claims into the scientific, make it to where people are going to say, well, okay, if this scientist is addressing it, then there must be something behind it from an academic standpoint, and his points must carry some kind of weight in the academic community. That's why I love Nye doing this. But I also think that Nye does need to be very careful. And the biggest trap, especially in the venue and the way that Ham has constructed this, is that he's in a situation to where he cannot expect to walk in there and win over these people. And if he tries to do that, he's going to be in trouble. He needs to speak to the population at large. And I think, like everyone said so far, just point out what's wrong. Just say, look, please go out here and look at this yourself. This is why it's wrong. And we all can, through the internet, discover these things for ourselves. That's my feeling.
No, I would agree more on. Yeah, I'm not even going to go there. What I'm going to say here, real quick, of course, my turn, is that Bill Nye is not really a scientist. What boils down to, he's a science communicator. He educates children, or he's an educator of children. We know this from the past, like Steve stated in his statement. I feel like if he doesn't worry about too much what Ken Ham says, and he reaches out to the children or future generations, because kids are impressionable, I think he should speak to them when it comes to science, the facts and the evidence, and what science is, and how great science is, that, they don't have all the answers, but, a theory is this, and this is why a theory is stronger than basically a fact. You know what I mean? These are the strengths that he has to really look at, I think, and approach creationism for what it is. It's not science. It's a political activism meant, I should say at least sanctioned, or backed by Christianity or a viewpoint of Christianity. It's a belief, and it's they want to bring it back to public schools or bring it into public schools like we see in Tennessee and Alabama now, and it's proselytize their religious view to the children. So I feel if he just sits there and speaks to the children, I think he'll be fine, because a lot of people in the audience are not just going. They're going to put their fingers in their ears and la la la, and that's it. And they don't care. There's going to be applauding, Ham. He has the home field advantage. It's his creation museum, and he's not going to get anywhere with it. Ken or Bill Nye, I think so. But that's it. Negation. You got any question you want to ask everybody here? I'm trying to try to get Robert M. Price back in here. He's been having problems.
Yeah, I mean the one, I guess, to me, overarching problem is why Nye agreed to hold it where he did and didn't allow the subject to be more science based. I'm really confused with that. Does anybody, and I'll start with Matthew. Do you have any what are your feelings on why he went the way he did in both the venue and the topic?
I can't claim to know who chose the topic. It's obvious who chose the venue, if you ask me. But the actual topic itself, I think that it has more than anything to do with the video that Bill Nye put out on Big Think. I believe it was last year, or in 2012 even, talking about why creationism shouldn't be taught to children. I think that this is just sort of a continuation of the dialogue that those two had. And I think that is probably, since that is sort of, for lack of a better term, the elephant in the room, that they were sort of sniping at each other in YouTube videos. I think that's probably where the topic of this came from. I have reservations about the argument. If they were going to just talk about the science itself, that would be one thing. But
I never really got an opportunity to chime in here. I guess I'm the only one that's looking forward to being convinced of creationism.
Oh, we didn't give you a chance here, or no? I'm sorry.
No, I didn't get a chance there.
Oh, sorry about that.
Here, I'm looking forward to, going to bed tonight a creationist. I mean that's the way it's going to be.
I have a feeling your girlfriend or your wife would be very disappointed.
I'm
she
sorry.
doesn't really care about any of this shit.
You're getting saved.
I think that of all the people to prove creationism true, it should be Ken Ham, because the guy seriously looks like he missed out on the last couple 100,000 years of evolution.
He does have that caveman look to him, doesn't he? But I mean, in all honesty, I'm
go ahead, man. I'm sorry about that.
What I really want to go through, what I hope to see out of this is, I think it'll be a success if Bill Nye can just take one or two maybe common creationist arguments that we are so tired of hearing and just make them look really foolish. Maybe foolish enough that the creationists watching maybe stop using those arguments. Because I keep hearing the same, I've almost given up on creationists, altogether, because you just hear the same shit over and over. They've got nothing new to add to it, and once you put enough time into it, you're basically wasting your time after that point. So I'm hoping maybe he can make a couple of creationist arguments look absolutely fucking terrible. Maybe make a couple of their points look silly, and by doing that, maybe lessen the amount that we hear those arguments. That's the only good thing and positive outlook I can see that's coming out of this. I don't see a whole lot of people like was said earlier changing their ideals because of one debate or whatever. And maybe you get a couple, but the truth is that it's going to be people that the only people really interested are the people that already believe one side or the other. And so if you're not going to change minds, at least maybe you can change arguments.
Well said. And where are we going now? Matthew, back to Matthew?
I know. I don't think Steve got a chance to chime in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, Coctopus gets a good laugh from saying that, I'm looking forward to being converted to creationism. And I mean, that is pretty funny because it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But in a sense, I mean, if we can just hypothesize for a moment that creationism is true, don't we want to be convinced? I mean, at least I care about what's true. I care about what is actually true. And the reason I'm not a creationist and the reason I reject creationism is because I don't think it's true. I mean, and I have all kinds of other moral and philosophical opinions about it, and all kinds of reasons I could talk about why I think that a natural universe is preferable to a theistic universe, particularly a Christian one. But ultimately, none of that matters. What matters is I don't think it's true. And if it were true, and Ken Ham has reasons to believe that it's true, I want to hear what the reasons are. The problem is, we all sort of know from past experience that he doesn't have any reasons. It's not even that he doesn't have enough good reasons to sort of put us over the top. He doesn't have any reasons. And I mean, pointing out a couple of shitty creationist arguments, I mean, that's always fun. And like Octopus says, you can go on doing that all day. I mean, every creationist argument I've ever heard has had something serious wrong with it. One of the things he might also try to do, and I don't know if he'll have time for it, I don't know if the format will allow for it, but it would be nice to hear Bill Nye try to do something toward demonstrating that what Ken Ham does and what creationists do, what apologists do, it ultimately, at its essence, it's not actually science. It looks like science, it plays at being science. It's not really science, because science is when the conclusion follows from the data. And creationism is when you invent rationalizations to make it look like the data fits your preconceived conclusion. It's the exact opposite of science. And I don't know if that message would be received by very many people in the audience tonight. I don't know if that would get over with a lot of people who don't see that already, but it might be worth pointing that out too.
Well, I think the interesting point, especially where you made it and how you came back full circle on that on the science end, is that, we should be doing exactly what Coctopus was saying, is that if we're going to be willing, like Steve said, to use the scientific method, that's exactly what it mandates, that we push our biases aside and say, okay, if you have evidence, let's look at it. And I mean, that's a great point. We need to really start trying to practice what we preach, so to speak, and take these quote unquote evidential claims and run them through the mill.
Oh yeah, and they're not ever really any evidence, are they? It's all these like truth claims and like the Bible. Like, how do you know that it says so in the Bible? And like, how do you argue with someone like that?
The problem is that they're playing by a different set of rules than we are. I've given a lot of thought to presuppositionalism especially, but just theistic arguments in general, and they consider knowledge to come from God. So it's a spiritual knowledge that informs your ability to use reason. So they're using, in my opinion, a top-down approach, and people who are more concerned with science and empiricism are using a bottom-up approach. And that's why there's so much crosstalk, is that they're starting with the assumption that God exists and God is telling them what to do, despite the fact that there's so many mutually exclusive concepts of God. And then they're trying to get atheists to see that our reasoning can only be circular if we're using it to justify itself. And that's, I think, where most of this is coming from. And when you add so much scientific illiteracy and ignorance, willful ignorance, into the mix on the creationist end, it's just, there's no way for us to get through to them so long as they maintain the presupposition that the Bible is literally true, because it's like this barrier that they keep around themselves to protect themselves from critical thinking. And until you can break through that, find someone, as Steve was saying, who cares about what's true for its own sake, then there's not going to be any real dialogue that can be had. So that's why this sort of discussion or debate that's going to happen tonight is so dangerous. It's because they're playing by different rules. It's not like an academic, scholarly debate on the finer points of this passage or this scientific principle. It's not anything like that. This is basically going to be, hopefully, a very nice and considerate mudslinging match. That's all it's going to be. I don't see anything productive coming out of it.
I agree. I actually agree with that. Like I said, I think, like, I agree with you, Matthew, on a small level, where I feel just like Richard Dawkins says that he shouldn't really, he should never did the debate or accepted the debate. Bill Nye, you know, who knows? It could be money involved, whatnot. I have no idea.
But why not? Why do we have to shy away from it? If we shy away
because
from it,
it's a belief that's already been debunked by the scientific community by large. So why pay any more attention to it?
There's a lot of people out there that believe it.
Exactly.
Obviously, he's at a fucking creation museum. Obviously, people still put the fucking time and money and arguing into it, and they want to be part of politics and everything. Why the fuck not? I'm not going to run away if someone. I don't care if you're. Just because, okay, a stupid person wants to argue with me, I'll argue back with them.
That's not what I'm claiming.
If they're super stupid, I won't argue back with them. I'll be like, nah, fuck it, you win. Fuck that.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm too much of a douchebag. I'm just like Bill Nye. I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Oh yeah,
you are a fucking douchebag. Let me clarify myself here.
To point out,
I need to clear myself.
Ken Ham is not stupid.
He's not stupid. He knows it, and this is what I'm going to say. This is why I'm saying this. Please let me finish.
He's cunning.
He's very cunning. He's very smart. And he's a good public speaker. Okay. Now that being said, I just came out the video, which many of you already seen.
Hunting? Is that what you guys said?
I said he's
cunning.
Yes,
Cunning. Cunning.
Close, but no cigar.
He's cunning. I can't say the G, so. No, seriously, let me expand on that, Coctopus, I think as for this debate, I don't think he should. The reason being is Ken Ham is doing this for a financial reason. He's not doing this to educate people. He's hurting. I just made a video about this about a month and a half ago. He's hurting, man. He only has 10% of whatever this Noah's Ark project is. 10%, that's it. He hasn't even touched ground yet. And starting this year, he has to start paying taxes. They already gave him a tax break of $30 million in the last 3 years. Okay? So he's doing it for a financial reason, for financial backing. So ignore him, and people should ignore him. That's it. He should never accept this debate because he's hurt, and he knows he can make a lot of fucking money off of this, and he will. Unfortunately, he will.
Look, it's one thing to say that I'm going to take like a top scientist and like waste their time or something, but it's just Bill Nye, and he does the science shit. You know, he's kind of a face for science for a living. So why the fuck not?
He's a public educator,
yeah, man. So why not put like it's wrong to say like, oh, these people they're as an educator. I'm not, but as an educator, Bill Nye would be going against like the motto of an educator, that is, you don't give up on people.
But it's not an even platform. It's not an equal platform. No matter how bad
they don't want to hear it.
It's not an equal platform.
But here's the problem: is that you're looking at. I mean, there's 56% of the freaking U.S. is still believing in religion. Yeah. You've got depending on how the question's phrased, you can get as high as 40% that don't believe evolution has been proven. I mean, it needs to be out there. And the big problem is as much as we want to sit here and pretend that these people don't have a platform, they do. He's got his own fucking museum, guys. I mean, Ham can reach out. And I think that, just like Coctopus said, if you shy away from this, there's a lot of people out there that are going to interpret that as the scientific community can't back up their claims.
Yeah, we lose by default.
Exactly. Because
fuck that shit.
Well, I sort of disagree there, man. I sort of disagree there. Like I said, like I'm all about discourse between creationists and evolutionists. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, that's fine and dandy. But I think for the reason of Ken Ham financially losing his ass, this is going to get him another year or two, or however you want to look at whatever platform you want. He's gonna make some money off of this, a lot of freaking money. But you know what? No, but it promotes him. It gives him more money to promote his fucking bigotry and hatred towards science. Okay, he claims science backs up his. No, it doesn't. Okay, and it's giving him more fuel. It's giving him more fuel to hurt more children, and we shouldn't be giving him more fuel.
Or this is giving him fuel. Like a fool and changes our society for the better in the long run.
First of all,
or it could do that. Are you going to take that chance, or do you want him just not make money and just be able to promote his bigotry?
I'm certainly not going to bankrupt him as my argument. My argument against his creationism is not like I'll bankrupt your ass.
I see what you're saying, but I feel like I just feel like if he does what he needs to do,
should be able to win with science and make them look like fools. Of course, and that's what they do. That's what we need to do, because it's that feeling foolish that got me to become an atheist, to stop believing in God.
Of course,
to try and back up those silly arguments and the silly stories that you claim to believe in, and eventually you get. I mean, it's tiring. They must be exhausted. The creationists must be exhausted because you're constantly having to do loops in your head and like explain shit and like flip logic so that it makes sense for you, and it's got to be exhausting. But it needs to be fucking exposed.
They're on their last. They're on their last thread. They're grasping at straws, and that's what Ken Ham's doing with this debate. Go ahead, Matthew.
Here's a dimension of this that we're not really considering. Just as TJ or Coctopus was just saying, the feeling that he was getting of dissonance, if you want to call it that, was one of the motivating factors for him to leave religion. There are still a lot of people in the U.S. who are just insulated from scientific knowledge, whether by their own doing, by their community's doing, for whatever reason. So there are going to be people listening who are on the fence, even on the creationist side. I encourage you to watch if you haven't seen it, the Dembski versus Hitchens debate, where he was already losing his hair from chemotherapy, and he was they were debating in front of a congregation, if you will, at I think it was a Christian college, or some sort of a school where there were a lot of Christian young people. And by the end, Hitchens was getting a lot of applause. And that is because he was making points that people who are not necessarily overly biased were picking up on. And we can't sell people short just because they believe in creationism or some version of theism, that they are completely immune to rational discussion. Some of them are. Some of them have a vested interest, like Ham. But some don't. Some are going to listen. And if enough of a good point is made by Bill Nye, then it's going to do, I think, more good than harm in the long run. It's just a question of how overwhelmed he is by the debate itself, by whatever tactic, whatever presentation Ham is going to bring. Because if it's just, as they call it, Gish Gallop, where it's just a flood of misconceptions and lies and distortions of the truth the whole time, then there's going to be too much for Ham for Nye to get through. But there's still going to be people listening. There's still going to be people in the back of their minds who are thinking, is there really anything to this? Am I 100% correct? Because not everyone is sitting at a position of complete confidence in their faith, in their ideology, whatever they believe. There are still people out there who can be reasoned with. And I remind you again that most atheists in the U.S. and Western countries were once believers. So there is progress to be made, depending on how this is done. And the easiest way, in my experience, to get through to people like that is to talk to them in a considerate manner. So the one kind
of like you're doing with us right now. What I see, I have a problem with that though, man. I try and be nice, and then they say something stupid. I'm like, you're a stupid fuck.
I'm not talking about being considerate of beliefs. I'm talking about being decent to people.
I'm a decent guy, so I guess I get away with that.
Yeah, right.
That's why I love you. You're a decent guy, and I appreciate that.
He's a puss.
What's that?
No, go ahead.
How long until the guy hits the fucking watermelon with the sledgehammer?
I was just ranting.
No, it's okay. Let's break up
until Gallagher comes on.
25 minutes, but we got another 2 questions here. I got a question. I think Negation has a question for you guys. So let's split it. Guys, very good discourse, man. Really, I appreciate that. Actually, we can disagree a little bit on the reason. What?
Joe, I mean, we didn't hear anything from Darkmatter or Steve.
I'm sorry. I thought they were already won.
No.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry. I apologize. No, because
800 people.
Because Cockpuss went, then Steve, and then I'm sorry. Go ahead, guys. I'm sorry. Go
Sorry.
I apologize. I'm trying to keep track here. I got my little notepad here.
It's all good. I'll quietly sit here and wait my turn.
No, go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
No, well, I can see both sides of this disagreement between Joe and Coctopus and Negation, where I totally get why you would say we should not give someone like Ken Ham the time of day, him specifically. because you're right. I mean, there are indications that he's doing this to raise his profile and to raise funds for the Noah's Ark project, and the guy is. He has nothing to add to move the conversation forward. He throws out the same tired, completely refuted creationist arguments that we've heard time and time again from hundreds of other people. But at the same time, it's true that in the United States, our culture, the number of people who doubt established scientific facts is embarrassingly high. And not even getting into the issue of the number of people who believe in God. That's like a question that sort of sits above this stuff. Is the question of, do you accept that evolution happened? Do you accept that the universe is 13.7 some odd billion years old? Do you accept that, the Earth was created at some point after the sun? Do you accept these demonstrated scientific facts that we have no reason to doubt? Except that they might contradict some religious tradition that we cherish. So in order to change that, and I care about changing it, because I think to the extent that we can base our beliefs on established demonstrable facts, that will make the world a better place. I think the world will be a better place if we can have more people believing in stuff that we have good reasons to think is true. And so if we care about changing that, at some point we have to confront people like Ham, perhaps not Ham himself, but people like Ham who have it wrong and are telling people things that are just demonstrably false, or at least can't be shown to be true in such a way that they are claiming that they can be. And we have to push back against that. And it's not just debates like this, because I agree with the sentiment in the room that debates like this, they will reach hopefully a few people on the fence, but they're not going to change anybody's mind in any sort of grand scale. It's a task that we have to take on a more cultural level. We need more shows on TV that are unambiguously scientifically minded, where it's not just, like secrets of the Bible. Well, oh gee, maybe it's true, but maybe it's not. You be the judge. No. On questions that we know the answers to, we should present the answers unambiguously. We shouldn't tell people, well, Christians believe that the earth was created in 6 days, and the current scientific consensus says that there was a Big Bang 13 billion years ago, and you be the judge.
Or like Bigfoot hunters on Discovery Channel.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's exactly the same shit. It's exactly the same shit. There's just as much evidence for Bigfoot as there is for the Garden of Eden. And we shouldn't take either claim seriously, because there's no evidence for either one. And we shouldn't pretend that there is just to honor some well-intentioned but misguided idea that we have to respect people's religious beliefs, no matter how crazy and unsubstantiated they are. And maybe this debate is just a tiny, tiny step in the right direction, but this event or some events like it are things that if we care about changing things and we care about educating people in science, it's shit we're just going to have to do. And every single event might not be as perfect and as ideal as we would like it, but it's work that has to be done. Mm-hmm. So,
very great points, man. Thank you very much. That was great.
Darkmatter2525. People like this guy, Ken Ham, people with influence, they need to be checked. They need to be. People listen to them, and they can't just see. In a place where we have freedom of speech, where you're free to say anything you want, and rightfully so, not be forced to not be able to say what you want to say. There has to be consequences for when you say things that are stupid and wrong and just asinine. There has to be people out there who are going to, keep you from spreading your poor influence on the world. And when we don't do that, when these guys just spew their bullshit and nobody keeps them in check, and they gain influence, they gain numbers, they gain supporters, and then they start spreading, it's like a cancer. And we're in danger. This happens a bit on both sides, but people tend to fall into their echo chambers and only listen to one side or the other. And if there isn't people crossing over into enemy territory and bringing the arguments to them and stepping outside of those comfort zones, then people get away with. Sorry. Then people get away with spreading bullshit and convincing people that bullshit is true, and I hate that. I hate that. I think it's hilarious that I remember Live Life's talking about his Noah's Ark project that he can't get off the ground. How the fuck did Noah do it? I just wanted to say that. How did Noah do it? This ancient guy, but Ken Ham can't do it.
It was
with his
magic.
millions
Yeah,
of
God's
dollars.
help, bro.
That's
It
a
was
cool,
good magic.
that's a good laugh, dude. Thank you. I needed that. Oh, that's great.
So then I guess God isn't with Ken Ham then.
He doesn't have enough faith.
Noah actually staged a debate with the Bill Nye of his day and charged admission, and then that Noah equivalent of Bill Nye drowned in the flood. So everybody.
I want to see a debate between Ken Ham and Francis Bacon. That's who I want to see.
Wow. Yeah, that that would be interesting. Wow. Yeah, one thing that you kind of touched on there, Dark Matter,
Real quick, we're going to restart this broadcast here in a couple of minutes here, but Negation, if you want to propose your question, and we'll restart because there's a little lag, but it's not on my end. It's on Vaughn Live TV's end, of course, so we do apologize for that, but you should be able to hear us still.
It's because we had 900 people in the room.
That's probably why, too. We're probably crashing their servers, but no, go ahead, Negation. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Actually, Dark Matter touched on something that, in fact, I was on a show earlier today talking about this same deal, and one of the topics that came up was it seems like the equal footing deal boils down to people feel that we have just as much faith from the scientific end as they have from the evidential, or from the religious end. And I mean, when it gets down to it, there is a certain amount of faith that is involved with believing science. And I thought it'd be interesting to kind of go around and see how you guys think that question should be dealt with, not only here, but if it comes up with Bill Nye in that room, because faith is a huge component of everything that most of those people in that room, their life revolves around. And it makes it very easy to go, well, you haven't seen evolution. You haven't seen a monkey turn into a man. It's just, you weren't there. It's just as much faith-based as we have. I mean, Coctopus, what do you think he ought to do with that type of thing? Or what do you think we all ought to do with that type of thing?
Sorry about that. Repeat very quickly the question.
Now, when people say that, evidence or science is as much faith-based as religion is, admittedly, some of it is, because we didn't do the science ourselves. So how do you think, if that comes up with Bill, how he should react, and plus, how should we react in general to that?
It's easy. You basically say, because if science is right, anyone can fucking do it. And if you really doubt it, then go find someone that found otherwise, or do it yourself. When it comes to religion, their faith-based shit is all different. It's all over. I mean, religion itself, even if you were to say, give each religious person, you win the argument. Now explain how every other religious person is wrong. That you can't do that. All of their faith and everything comes from totally, different backgrounds, different areas. It says different things. But when you come to science, science doesn't, many people do it, but it all has the same result. And it comes to the same conclusion. And you can do science. I mean, it doesn't have to be crazy science. Things like gravity. You understand gravity, and everyone believes in gravity because they know if they jump off a fucking building that they're going to fall. Not everyone believes in religion because, well, a lot of people think that, I pray and therefore, and then God talks back to me. And other people are like, yeah, you're fucking crazy. And it's because there's no way of proving that kind of faith-based shit. I guess the easiest way to answer it is to say that science comes to the same conclusion when done by anybody, and that's how you know it's good science, whereas faith is just personal testimony, and I guess it's not everyone comes to the same conclusion. They all come to terribly different conclusions, which is a pretty easy argument in favor of science being the more accurate of the two.
That's interesting, Steve. I've heard you talk about this on your own channel a little bit. And I like your response. I mean, at least what you've done. So, you want to give us your take on that?
Yeah. Well, there are two things that come to mind quickly. First is in the book that I'm reading for my An Atheist Reads series right now. The author of that, Timothy Keller, tries to make the argument basically that everything is religion. That science is just another form of religion because scientists can't prove things conclusively, therefore their conclusions are based on faith, just as a religious person's conclusions are based on faith. And the problem with that, first of all, it's disingenuous because the conclusion that a scientist might come to based on examining evidence or conducting experiments or making observations and predictions are of a completely different nature than a religious person. If a scientist says, okay, I have concluded that if I drop something, it's going to fall and hit the ground, he is, in a sense, making a leap of faith because he doesn't know to a 100% certainty that when he drops the ball, it's going to fall and hit the ground. But he can point to all kinds of evidence from his own personal experience, from which he can make an induction, to tests he can perform on the laws of physics and how gravity behaves and how it acts on objects. There are all sorts of things he can point to that anyone else can see as well, that will point him in that direction, toward that conclusion. And he can come to that conclusion not to 100% certainty, but to a very, very high degree of certainty, to enough of a certainty where it doesn't make sense to assume that anything else would happen, right? And whereas with a religious person, you're dealing with a claim of a completely different nature. You're dealing with someone who believes something because somebody who lived a long time ago says that God told them something, or because there's a claim that at one point in history, usually before there was such a thing as science, something happened that could only have been possible if God had done it. It's based on hearsay. It's based on no evidence of any kind. It's just based on claims that have been carried down through the years. So they're two fundamentally different types of faith. In fact, the scientific type of faith is actually based on evidence. Even though you can't get to a complete 100% certainty, a scientific type of faith is based on evidence. And a religious faith flies in the face of evidence, or at best is just assumed without any evidence at all. The other thing I would say is that with science, when you look at a scientific explanation, whether you are a scientist and you're trained and you're a professional or not, for any scientifically understood phenomenon, any well-understood scientific phenomenon, there is a specific explanation for what is going on. If you take a drug and the drug has a particular effect on your body, you can describe the effect of that drug in a very general way. You can say it makes me dizzy, or you can say, well, it makes my headache go away. You can say it makes me nauseous, or whatever. But you can also take that explanation down to an incredible level of specificity, down to the cellular, down to the molecular level, where it is understood exactly what is going on, exactly which protein receptors this drug is blocking. We know exactly what is going on. And I, as a layman, might not understand that. I might not be fluent at that level of technical explanation, but that explanation exists and I can find it. And if I can find someone else who has that level of education and expertise, I can show it to that person and I can say, is this right? Is this what happens when you take an Advil? And he'll say, oh yeah, that's exactly what happens. And if he's really a good ambassador for science, he can even explain it to me in terms that I might be able to understand. Whereas with a religious explanation, we see nothing like that. A religious explanation never goes any deeper than, well, God did that. And I think the reason for that is because most of the time the phenomenon they're describing never actually happened.
And not only that.
Guys, real quick, I don't mean to cut you off here. We only got a few minutes. We have about a minute lag here on the internet. I need to drop you guys from the call here in a little bit here, probably within the next minute or two. We got to wrap this up. The debate starts here in about 8 minutes. But what I need to do is it's going to take me a minute to get offline here and refresh the connection so there's no lag during the debate. So what I'm going to do is drop you guys off here after Matthew goes. You guys can wrap up here and do a little closing statement for a minute or two. I want to have you guys back, of course, for at least I don't think, Matthew, you're going to be able to join. But the rest of you guys, please, after I drop the call, come on back for the post show. Let's make some notes. We're going to take some notes here on the debate, and we're going to have a little discussion afterwards and see what we think about it, and we'll go from there. Sorry, Matthew, go ahead.
That was a great point that Steve was making for the fundamental differences between a sort of religious viewpoint and a scientific viewpoint. I would also like to point out that there are a lot of people who accept scientific viewpoints without thinking about them, without questioning about them, and that in those cases it would be akin to religious faith. But properly executed, properly conducted, a scientific-minded person is more concerned with being skeptical, being disproving the scientific information that you've been given. Even if it's something that's well established, you should still be approaching it from the viewpoint of this could possibly be wrong, even if it's 100% accurate, even if you're almost positive it's 100% accurate. That skepticism is very important, just because in the scientific community, the whole point is people are trying to disprove their coworkers. They're trying to disprove their peers to show that the explanations that we have might not be correct. And in that way, you can be more and more certain that they are correct when people try to disprove them, try to disprove what you're saying, and they can't. Like when you have someone say that evolution isn't true, all you have to do is point out where they can go to find out that it is, if they really want to. If they care about whether or not it's true, they'll go look for themselves. Or better yet, they'll become a scientist and go try to figure out the information on their own. But one thing that has to be mentioned for evolution is this false dichotomy of microevolution versus macroevolution. That is only made by people who don't understand the difference between the theory of biological evolution and abiogenesis. That's it. If anytime you hear somebody make that mistake, it's because they don't know what they're talking about. And all you got to do is point them to scientific research papers or even Wikipedia to get started on actually figuring out where they're just deciding not to think anymore.
Yeah.
Science, since it's observed, since it's all about observation, that it's not faith at all, other than your initial hypothesis, and there's not much faith in that. You're testing that. You do science because you don't have faith, and you want to perform tests in order to discover the truth of the matter. It's like when some creationists have told me, well, I have faith that I have faith even that the chair underneath me won't collapse, or when I get into an elevator or an airplane. Yeah, I do, but it's because I've seen these things work throughout my entire life. I've observed them. So it's, how much faith can you call it? It's technically, yeah, there's a little bit of faith that, I'm going to sit in my chair and it's going to withstand my weight, but I don't think it's anything like, oh, there's this wonderful place I'm going to go after I die that I've never been to before. It says so in this book, and I'm trusting it. I have no reason to. I've never seen it. It's a completely different thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to close it out real quick, as far as the way I see it is the dogmatism. I mean, science comes at it from, if it's wrong, let's find that it's wrong. Whereas religion comes at it, we know it's true, so let's back it up, which is completely opposite ends as far as the way that you find, what is truth and how it works. And when you come at it knowing what's already there, you can't hope to find anything new. And that's why science wins when it comes to progressing and getting better throughout, society and the longer we get. But I'll wrap it up there because I know we're running over.
Yeah, guys. Real quick, thank you guys for coming.
We've got over 1,000.
We got 1,000
freaking people. Let me thank everybody.
I want to thank everybody. Yeah,
for showing up. This is the biggest show I've seen in fucking forever.
No, it's because of all you guys for doing this. Guys,
thank you all for being here.
Thank you guys. You guys fucking rock. Refresh your channels. The links for everybody that's here right now are down below. Go check those guys out. If you like what they said, go subscribe them. We're gonna watch the 2-hour debate now, and afterwards we're gonna have a post show with everybody here. If they're more than welcome to come come back. I know Matthew's not going to be here, but thank you guys. Check out the links below. I'm going to try to refresh. I'm going to stop the broadcast, and then what I'm going to do is lower my resolution a little bit of my bandwidth, so we won't have anybody on Skype, nothing like that. Everybody enjoyed the show, and we shouldn't have too much of a lag issue, so let's give it a try, and let's roll with it. And maybe Mark's here right now, the owner of On Live TV. The owner's here now. They're trying to fix the bandwidth issue and the lag issue. So, guys, give me a couple minutes here, man, and we'll be good to go. Yeah, he's here, man. The owner's here to Mark. Mark's right there. You see him. Owner.
That's
so he's
fucking awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And guys, 1,022. Fucking unbelievable. I didn't even think
1,033.
I was only thinking 500, but it's because all you guys and Dark Matter and Steve Shives and Cockpus and all you guys promote. Thank you. All right, guys.
That's pretty much because of my looks. I'm thinking
it's well, we're gonna have a couple jokes later on in the post show. So grab a beer, enjoy yourself, or a drink, and let's view this debate. It's gonna be live here in a couple seconds. So here we go.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Everybody, before we even get going on here, please give a big applause to Mark, the owner of On Live TV, and also his staff for doing such a good job on giving us the bandwidth that we needed to really, hopefully he continues to do so, that we need to keep this show going. You're welcome, guys. You're more than welcome. There's a reason why I did this, is so he makes less money. So let's get on with the after party here, or the after show here, and let me call everybody. Let me get this up here. Hold on. Here we go now. We're going to get going. We're going to get going. And I can't fucking sing for shit. Let's see here. All right, guys. Calling you guys up. What is going on?
Hey, man.
Hey.
Hey now.
Hey now. Hey now.
Hey now. Hey
Used to be my favorite song.
All right, all I've got to say is fuck you guys. Everybody that this shouldn't be going on, kiss my ass. Freaking I did wonderful, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm freaking. I challenge anyone out there to say that Nye didn't do a good job.
He did a good job, dude. He actually, I gotta admit that.
I do have a book.
You do
I've
have
got a book.
A book. Oh fuck! We dropped down from fucking 1900 down to 1628, but oh my god! Let me stop this song. Unfucking believable. I mean, like, I've done blog TV for many years. So have you, Dark Matter, and Steve, and Coctopus, of course, Coctopus, and Negate. Holy shit, 1,900 fucking people we hit tonight. That's amazing. And
That's
thank
awesome.
you. Thanks to Steve Shives, Dark Matter, Coctopus, Negation, myself, the Amazing Atheist that gave us a little like on the video promotion video. Thank you, the Amazing Atheist, Matthew Steele, and all you people that shared the promotion videos for the last, I guess, couple weeks now. Thank you very much. And if you like these guys, which I do recommend all the people here right now, Steve Shives, Dark Matter, Coctopus, Negation, myself, links down below, man. Refresh. You'll see our YouTube channels. Go check us out, man. If you like what we have to say now, yeah, please go subscribe to these fucking people, man. These are some of my best friends right here, and they're really good stuff. Really good people, I should say, not good stuff. But
I would suggest that people stick around, because this after show is going to be quite interesting.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be funny, and it's going to be good. It's going to be entertaining, and we're going to be serious, but it's going to be entertaining too. So.
Oh, it's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot. I mean, dude, I've got 2 pages of freaking notes. I mean, I think I can spend an hour just going over my shit. So it's going to be interesting. It's just, I mean,
yeah.
I just want to say, like I said, I am so freaking impressed with how Nye came across there, and I mean, he did exactly what he needed to do. He just kept holding his feet to the fire and demonstrating that nothing he said held up to science. I mean, it was, to me, it was freaking, I mean, there were a couple of points here and there he could have made, but for the most part, shit, I'm very impressed with Nye. Very impressed.
Yeah, he did a very good job, and we'll bring up some of the points here, but let me get, Coctopus, what do you think about the debate? Let's get first impressions here. Let's do that. First impressions. Coctopus, then we'll go to Dark Matter and Steve. Go.
First impressions, you know, Nye did a good job. Ken Ham embarrassed himself so many times. What I kept thinking the whole time he was talking about, he's like, he's like, where's the observational science for evolution and for the age of the earth and blah, blah, blah. It has to be observed. But dude, you're claiming that everything was created before there was anyone even to observe it. So and this is someone that promotes creation science and shit like that, and has scientists that are also creationists. And he kept bringing up the appeal to authority. Holy shit.
That was huge, man, in the beginning. Holy fuck.
Jesus, it's like constantly like, look, someone else agrees with me. Look, someone in a high position agrees with me. Like, okay, wow, that I guess that makes it true for him, or he thinks that bolsters his argument, but it does not. There's no observational science for any religious claim, or especially for creationism. It's a ridiculous standard to hold for science and then to ignore for your own argument.
Well said, man. Dark Matter, you there, big boy? Big boy?
Yeah. Sorry, I had to say goodnight to the kid.
Yeah. Okay.
He, Ken Ham. Oh, what a piece of work that guy is. He. In the beginning, he talks about. He talks about naturalism or what is it? Secularism hijacking the word science, and then he spent the rest of the debate trying to hijack scientific terminology and saying that this supports creationism when it's so much the opposite. It is incredibly ironic that he went that way, and just some of the ridiculous things he was saying, like the carnivores, all the carnivores used to be herbivores, and the evidence he comes up for this is fruit bat teeth, or bear teeth, omnivores, right? He doesn't know anything about fucking animals. He doesn't know anything about the digestive systems of animals that are so different, so vastly different between a carnivore and a herbivore. They don't just change like that because a guy eats a piece of fruit. All of a sudden, a lion's intestines are going to shrink by dozens of feet. It's ridiculous. His bullshit about the universe expanding. That's one of the things that really stood out in my mind was when someone asked why is the universe expanding? What would God's reason for that be? And right off the bat, Ken Ham said, well, I obviously don't know. I obviously can't know that. Then he spent like the next 2 minutes explaining how it is to show how great God is. So he says he doesn't know, and then he immediately has to correct that and say, oh, he does know, right? But Bill Nye, the whole time, when he didn't have an answer, he said, I don't know. I don't have the answer. And then, and he didn't just start, plugging it in like, oh, this is the answer, because, that's what Ken Ham was doing. But Ken Ham sees that as a weakness. Oh, he doesn't know. Oh, I do know.
Yep.
I have this book that says so. Well, substantiate the fucking claim. Just because it's in the Bible, that doesn't mean, okay, that's it. That's the end of the story. Substantiate it.
Well said, brother. That's good first impression. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, well, I don't want to say too much right now because I know we're going to get into it like hardcore, but there are two things that jump out at me. First is, first of all, Bill Nye did great. I thought he was amazing. I love what Dark Matter said about how he, whenever the correct answer was uncertainty, how he owned that. And he didn't try to pretend that there was anything wrong with that. It's fine for a scientific question to be unanswered or to be not fully answered. That's what we expect. We accept that. We pursue the answer until we get what we think is a good answer. That's. But the thing about Ken Ham is, first of all, if you didn't know this already, his understanding, his basic understanding of evolution is worse than like an attentive freshman high school student. I mean, he has absolutely no idea what the fuck he's talking about when he's talking about just the basic principles of evolution. And I'm far from an evolutionary biologist. I'm not a trained scientist in any way. I took biology classes in high school and college, and that's the extent of my training as a scientist. But Ken Ham doesn't even grasp the basic fundamental principles of the theory of evolution. He has no idea. Toward the end there, he showed he doesn't even know what survival of the fittest means. When he was talking about like the cave fish, the blind cave fish, he said, well, it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of whatever survives. No, stupid. It means that evolving away from the eyes, losing the eyes, conferred on those eyeless blind fish some kind of an advantage. They were able to use their resources of their body more efficiently. Something made them more fit to live in their environment than the fish who did not lose their eyes. It is survival of the fittest. Yep. You twit. You have no idea what you're talking about. The other thing is, he kept saying, like the bit about naturalism being a religion. Well, the good news for Ken is that unlike his religion, which he admitted multiple times, he just will refuse to abandon. He always dodged the question when people said, what would make you think that you were wrong? He completely refused to answer that question and basically just said, look, I know for a fact that I'm right and nothing will ever change my mind. Contrary to that, naturalism is conditional. So if Ken Ham has a problem with naturalism, all he needs to do is provide the evidence that would contradict it, and it's gone. It's gone. Because we don't presuppose naturalism. We base naturalism on facts, on evidence, on what we think are good answers to our questions. So if you can show me a reason why it's not the most sensible way to look at the world, if there is such a thing as a supernatural realm, if there is such a thing as a supernatural cause, show me a reason why that's true. I am not a naturalist anymore. So it's good news for you, Ken. All you have to do is come up with one argument, one piece of evidence that refutes naturalism, and that's it. That's all you need. So, anyway.
Excellent fucking rant there, man, Steve, man. I totally agree with you, man. Real quick, let's get on to the next, I guess, thing we should discuss here. How about the audience? What the hell was that in the beginning? Nobody was cheering, and then all of a sudden, I would say about halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through, people start cheering a little bit more for Nye. What the hell was up? What's up with that shit, man?
I think in the beginning they were asked not to applaud for the first 5-minute things.
You think?
To keep it going quickly, and then they were, because you'll notice that Ham didn't.
Ham was getting some cheers, man.
He didn't get a lot of applause, really, as far as I heard.
But the most telling part to me was not the applause, but the laughter.
The laughter.
And to me, it almost seemed like, and now we're getting conspiracy theory. Yeah, here I'll pull out my freaking Matthew glasses and the tin hat. But I could see a lot of those people in there. That one joke that he made about at the very beginning, they're all rolling their eyes and just sitting there doing nothing. It almost seemed like they got together beforehand in their churches and coached each other and said, no matter what the hell you do not laugh. Do not freaking react to freaking whatever, Nye says. Just sit there stone-faced.
Yeah, you're right. When they panned to the audience one time, it's probably like a half an hour, 45 minutes in. You see all the kids there, like with their hands crossed, like just like blank stare, like in front of the stage. I'm like, what the hell's this? Laugh! Come on, listen. Like take some fucking notes.
Yeah, the audience definitely looked kind of hostile the few times they showed it towards Nye. It was always when Nye was talking, and they looked, they didn't look too happy.
They're bow tie Nazis.
I think the bow tie clip, I'm like, what really upset me in the beginning, which was, it didn't last too long, was when he was talking about the bow tie for too long for a 5-minute intro. He spent like 2 minutes on the tie. I'm like, come on, dude, come on, pick it up. Let's get rolling here, Bill. But he ended up doing it, so. And everybody in the comments.
He did well.
No, he definitely did well. How about Nye at the end here? I got a note here. What about Nye at the end talking about religion? It was all about religion at the end for him. Anybody want to talk on that? It's like everything was God this, God said this, God said that. He wasn't even talking really about the topic at hand. The debate topic. It's like good negation.
Now, let Steve and them go, because we keep stepping on them.
Oh, sorry.
So they'll never get in if they
don't let you know what? You can tell me to shut the fuck up. I don't really give a shit, but I'm just trying to read over comments here. Go ahead. Go, Steve.
I think it's important, given that it seems like part of Nye's reason for doing this was to reach out to people and to maybe play to an audience that he wouldn't ordinarily be playing to in terms of like the scientific stuff. I mean, one of the things that I think is important to remember is, and Bill touched on this, particularly in the later portions of the debate, that Ken Ham's version of Christianity, let alone his version of just theism in general, is not the only version. And Ken Ham likes to talk as though it is, but it's not. There are millions of Christians all over the world who believe in their conception of God just as firmly, with just as much sincerity and conviction as Ken Ham does, and they have no problem accepting evolution. They have no problem accepting modern cosmology. They have come up with some interpretation of the Bible that fits into what we know about science. Now, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't see any reason justifying any of it, but it's disingenuous and it's dishonest and it's unfair to those people for Ken Ham to say, well, the Bible says this and the Bible says this and the Bible says this and the Bible says this, because there are lots and lots and lots of people that share his general belief that think he's dead wrong about pretty much everything he says about science. And I think that's something that Bill was sort of bringing into the conversation at the end and saying, you know, look, there's what we know about science, and there's our religious beliefs, our spiritual beliefs, and just because you hold a particular spiritual belief doesn't mean that you have to reject science. It also basically doesn't give you the right to say, well, this is true and this can't be true. Like, you as an individual don't really have the right to decide that science is wrong, because it's not up to you, and it's not up to me, and it's not up to any individual. It's up to the facts. The facts are what tell us what is right and wrong. And it's possible to have a religious faith and also to accept at least most of the facts. And that's something that Ken Ham, I think, would like for people to not believe. He wants people to accept his version of his particular religion and reject everything else that contradicts that.
Man, well said, Steve. Are we over that right now? Negation? No, we're good.
No, I mean, I don't think. I think Steve was the only one that had a chance to go on it. I'd say let Dark Matter and other people talk.
Dark Matter, Coctopus, and Negation. Sorry, I'm like going on chat and doing notes here. Sorry about that.
Dark Matter, you got anything?
Well, let someone else go first while I collect my thoughts.
All right, no problem.
Coctopus, I know you got a lot to say. Go ahead.
Sorry, what was the topic? I'm also off doing 50,000. There's just too much going on.
Go Negation.
I'll go. Steve, one thing that you hit on that, I mean, you kind of said it twice now, which I absolutely agree, is that, you know, Ham has no flipping clue what science is. He keeps using the word in the context of a noun only. I don't think he has a concept that it can be used and is in most cases used as a verb. It amazes me that he has no clue that there is a scientific method out there that can be utilized to not only, like he wants to use it, to just categorize facts, quote unquote, but actively discern what is going on. And to me, that is the biggest telling point of this whole debate, is just how fundamentally sad he was when it came to being able to apply anything outside of his little script. Anything hits him any way, shape, or form. I mean, how many times did Nye ask him, please explain to me whatever? And just, I mean, by the end, Nye finally just said, show me anything. One thing, just like you said, you know, before. And he can't do it. He just keeps going, there's a book. There's a book. Are you kidding me? Coctopus, I'll go ahead, or I'll start ranting forever on the science end of this.
Dark Matter.
Yeah, I'd say that, yeah, I see what you mean about Ham having his script and sticking to it, and that was very apparent in the questions section when he just bold-faced wouldn't answer the questions. He would go off on these tangents, and the bit about the hypothetical question, it's like, if I had hair, I'd be pulling it out. The guy, he's like, there's no hypothetical because it just can't be. See, you don't know what a fucking hypothetical question is. If it were so, then, but he can't even give that much. He can't even do that. And this is somebody who his whole life is staked on this, He's not going to listen to reason no matter what. Or he's going to pretend like he knows better.
No, I totally agree. You got anything else, Darkmatter? You good?
It's actually pretty pathetic.
It is.
And it's like I was talking about before in the pre-show, like the mental gymnastics you have to go through in order to convince yourself of all this shit must be exhausting, because it's tiresome to follow so many lies and to convince yourself that it's true. I mean, we often talk about, are people actually this stupid, or are they just acting? Well, I believe Ken Ham is actually that fucking stupid. And there's a level of acting. He knows how to dodge the fucking questions. They give him a question, and he's like, well, let me tell you about some dentist I know who's a creationist. Like, and we'll watch a little video from him. Like, oh, come on, dude. Like, you're not fooling anybody. Nobody is like, oh, you know what? A dentist also is a creationist. Therefore, you're right. I'm going to throw out all the scientific evidence and start believing in the God of the Bible. Not just that, but the fucking creationist, like, craziness that even other Christians look at and are like cringe with embarrassment.
Yeah, it's funny shit. You know what I really enjoyed that, and I already stated this in the pre-show, which I stated was, I hope that Bill Nye basically reaches out to the youth, children out there, the next generation, try to create more scientists or people that are interested in, or should be interested in science, or will be interested in science, I should say, the youth in general. I love that actually he touched on that many times. He really did. He's like, hey, to all the youth out there, to all you children out there, to all you people that are young, that are learning about science, embrace it. This is good. So I love that he did that, and I was hoping that he did that. That was the main point that I wish that, or I hoped, I should say, that he would point to, and he did. He did a good job on that. I want to say that. But the funny thing I like is the one question that the CNN moderator proposed to Ken Ham, and he said, what would anything change your mind? You know what I mean? That question that he had. And Ken Ham basically waited a few seconds. There was like a 5 seconds gap he had to think. He's like, well, I'm a Christian. You guys remember that? Okay, well, let's talk about that. Go ahead, Octopus, go ahead, and then we'll go to Steve.
Okay.
That's bullshit, dude. It's like, come on, dude. Really? Is that all you got?
So basically what happens is, when asked, and this is the thing, the same question that Bill Nye answered with, like, he's like, give me one piece of evidence that contradicts all the others, and that'll make me believe. Whereas Ken Ham is like, nothing. He's like, I'm a Christian. You could show me how wrong I am, and I will just plug my fucking ears, close my eyes, and go, la 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 Jesus. La 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 Jesus. And, I mean, they don't want to learn. They don't want to be educated. They want to believe what they want to believe. They want to hear whatever they think backs up what they fucking already believe, and they want to poo-poo anything that goes against it in any way, and they feel threatened with actual facts and simple science. This is not like really, really difficult shit to understand in this day and age, in this age of technology, where you can look anything up.
That's right.
It's not that fucking hard, and they choose to make it fucking impossible. They're like, well, no, can't do it. I can't be convinced. I'm so derp that I no matter how much you try and fix my derp, I'm just going to keep derping along.
Fucking well said.
But there's clues against his bullshit, though. Like, he knows which landmines to avoid. He refused to answer how he could make a scientific prediction using the Bible or using his religious beliefs. He refused to answer why the fossils are found each within their respective layers of strata, which he dodged those like landmines because he knows those are problem topics. He knows when his argument starts fucking up, and he just completely ignores, even after repeated, Bill Nye repeatedly asking him.
And he's good with misinformation to his ilk. We know that. That's what he's good at. misinformation. He promotes it like it's fact. It's science based, and it's fucking not. And it's time to call the bullshit out, and we have to do it. Go ahead, negation, and we'll go to Steve. Negation and Steve. Go ahead.
Okay. The most telling part of that is everything that he asks us to believe, as Nye put it, mandates that you change the physical laws that we know exist.
Yep.
If you go back in time, all of a sudden you have to speed up light. You have to change how light works. You have to change how the radio isotopes decay into different elements. I mean, you have to fundamentally change everything about how physics works. And that's supposed to somehow be reasonable? I mean, it's just amazing that the strides these people take, and somehow these followers just swallow it hook, line, and sinker. Steve?
Well, that response, that non-response to the question of what could convince you that you're wrong.
Yep.
I've heard. I mean, a lot of religious folks will answer that question in similar ways, and and even when in Ham's presentation, when he talked about how he trotted out some 100-year-old refuted science textbook that talked about the 5 races of man, which is old refuted science. No reputable scientist believes that. That's been completely debunked. But he points at that and says, look, see, science was wrong about that. And he thinks about that as proof of weakness. And it's actually proof of strength. Because
such a fucking good point. Please, yes.
Yeah,
continue.
because if you make a statement and there's no way, even hypothetically, that you can show that you are wrong, there's no reason to believe that statement is true. And that sounds counterintuitive at first if you're not familiar with the scientific method. But as Lawrence Krauss has said in multiple talks, most of what scientists do is trying to prove themselves wrong. You make a hypothesis, you make a proposition, and then you think of every possible way that you could be wrong, and you set about testing it and figuring out, is it wrong for this reason? No, okay, that checks out. Well, maybe this. Let me test this. You try to prove yourself wrong because falsifiability is the key element of any strong argument.
Absolutely.
If there's no way that you can possibly be wrong, it's not a strong argument, it's a weak argument. It's an argument that probably doesn't deserve to be considered at all. And if you can't admit that even hypothetically there's some way that you could be wrong, if there's no evidence, there's no argument, there's nothing hypothetically that could ever change your mind, that's a sign that you have no confidence in your position and your position is ultimately weak.
Fucking amen, dude. Ramen. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, guys, if you like what everybody's saying here, this panel right now, their links are down below. I edited it, so refresh. Go subscribe to these fucking people on YouTube. These are some of my best friends. I love what they have to... I love their videos. These are some of the best people on YouTube. Some of the best people, not all, or many, or most. Just some of the best people on YouTube.
I'm pretty sure it's all of us.
Oh, shut up.
I'm pretty sure we're all here right now.
But Negation, I think Negation has a question he wants to propose to the panel, and I got another one after that. And what I want to do, I want to mix it up afterwards for a little bit here, because I don't know how much, we're not going to be on here for too much longer. But what I want to do is, if Steve, Dark Matter, and Coctopus have any questions you want to ask us, I think if you want to talk a little bit about your view on the debate, or a question you want to propose to all of us, get a different view, yeah, let's do that. So we'll go Negation, me, and then if you guys got a question, let's do that, okay? Negation, go ahead.
Yeah, mine's more of a topic than a question. But sure. One thing I noticed, and I thought it was a really good tactic, is that Nye never got sucked into quoting scripture to refute some of the things that were said. I mean, the one that jumped out to me more than anything was when Ham starts bringing up, well, they used to chop up dead bodies and then go deliver babies, and we didn't know anything about that. Well, I don't know if most people understand this or even have a clue, but in Luke 11:38, Jesus specifically tells people, do not wash your hands because all disease comes from inside and the deeds you do. And I mean, what it came from is he was sitting down with the Pharisees to eat, and the Pharisees saw that him and his disciples didn't wash their hands, and they asked him about it, and he's like, "Oh, you don't need to do that. As long as you're clean in heart and soul and your deeds, you're fine." I mean, on one hand,
are you telling me that? Wait, you're telling me that doesn't work? Because I never wash my hands after taking a big fat dump. I've always just been like, I'm a good guy. That'll take care of it.
Exactly. But I mean, how do y'all feel about him? I mean, I don't think it looked like he was avoiding the Bible, but he damn sure was smart enough not to get into that end of it. So, what do y'all think of that?
I don't know. Anybody want to go?
He was probably worried about alienating religious people. He didn't want to attack their beliefs so much and wanted to stick to the science. You know, Bill Nye, the science guy.
Yeah, he's definitely not a Hitchens. He was, you know, just trying to. He had some pretty simple questions, but he was getting frustrated, and I think he knew that they wouldn't get answered. You know, that it would be sidestepped, and he made a point of bringing them up over and over. And he did a good job. I think one of the parts that's really stuck out to me was when Ken Ham put out that it was like the two towers of blocks or whatever, and it was the, you know, morality. You know, if God exists, then this is where our morals come from, and if he doesn't exist, then you get abortion. And like, it was such a bad and such a one-sided thing that was not that Bill Nye didn't touch on. I don't think he touched on the morality argument at all because he's trying to go with the science bit. But I mean, it was such a bad argument, especially if you read the Bible, especially the Old Testament, which is what creationism is really based on. And I mean, that was embarrassing to watch. What was the other ones? Oh, it was like marriage ? They're like traditional marriage versus whatever that would be if there was no God. And then they're like having a beautiful baby if God exists, and then versus if there's no God, then why not just abort it? Like, it was such a just shitty, and really going for the emotional, you know,
aspect
the
of
string.
it.
Yeah, they're tagging you along. They're hoping that's enough to sway you or to keep you thinking.
Yeah.
Ignore the science, feel the emotion. Like, but look, if evolution is true, then now you have to support abortion. Like, that's pretty much what he's going for, and it's kind of despicable.
Walk along with me, and you'll be all right. Yeah, good. Steve and the Dark Matter.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of appeals to consequences, and there were there's a lot of wishful thinking. Like Ham said multiple times, and you hear this from creationists and religious apologists a lot. They'll present their worldview, and they'll say, "See, my worldview explains all these things that a scientific worldview doesn't explain." And they leave out the part where they demonstrate that their worldview is actually true. That just because you can make up a story that accounts for things that are unanswered questions by someone else's story doesn't mean that your story is true and their story isn't. And they leave that part out. They always leave that part out. You know, they can say like, well, like, I mean, even a presuppositionalist, which Ham kind of got into presuppositionalism a little bit here and there when he was talking about how, you know, even a secular scientist has to borrow from a Christian worldview in order to do reason and to do science. And it's interesting, he never says they have to borrow from a Muslim worldview. I'm pretty sure there are reasonable, rational Muslims as well who don't feel they're borrowing from Christianity when they exercise their reason. I'm pretty sure there were people who lived, you know, 5,000 years ago who had some capacity to use their reason, who had no knowledge of the Bible at all, who didn't feel they were borrowing from a Christian worldview to exercise their reason. But he does this, and he never bothers to demonstrate why it's actually true. You can't just say, well, look, my version, in my worldview, my reason is completely justified. Well, good for you. You made up a nice, neat story. Now, tell me why I should believe it.
Or get back to reality now.
Right.
You know, seriously, Dark Matter? Or did you already go?
No, I mean, yeah, it's just, that's all what it is assertion. And that's all it's good for. It like Nye kept trying to push on him. It doesn't have predictive power, and I think that oh yeah, Coctopus was talking about the morality thing, and that's just another assertion. It's like he's saying with God, you have all this X, Y, and Z morality that explains this and that, and how? I mean, it's an appeal to an authority. It's not an account for morality. It's God says X, Y, and Z is moral, therefore it is. Well, that doesn't follow. That's not the meaning of objective morality, which is what they're pushing for, right? No, that just means that this person known as God says X, Y, and Z is moral. Well, that's not an account for objective morality. None of this is ever explained. It's just glossed over. You're supposed to take it at face value. People need to start, getting on these creationists for this. That's not morality. That's subjective morality. That's a mind coming up with morality. Objective morality is supposed to transcend minds. Another thing that I'd like to address, and maybe some of you other guys want to address this too, is this absurd notion that people just take on face value without challenging so often, is that when Bill Nye was talking about the awe of discovery, like he's even noticed dogs having this awe when they discover something new, and Ham's response to that was this: well, if you when you die and that's the end of it and you just don't exist anymore, then why does it matter? And that right there, why does no one ever get on that? It's like, so if you don't live forever, then there's no point. Like the future is all that matters and the present doesn't matter. If you can't matter for all time, then you don't matter at all. How does that follow? It doesn't even begin to follow. I care about the present. I don't care about 500 million years from now. I care about what's going on now. And that's why it matters to me, because I'm a being of the present. And I don't need to live forever in an afterlife in order for me to care about things today.
You're 110% right. Like how I look at it is I want to care about now. Right now I got a problem with my father. I'm helping him out, doing what I got to do, and I'm sacrificing things that I that I could be doing right now in life. But you know what? I want to worry about the now. I want to give the best care I can. I want to do what I want to be able to do. I want to live in the now. That's what I want to do. Okay, if I want to try to do what we do all here, activism, do better for society or humanity, this is what we do. We want to do it now. Okay, I don't have this preconceived notion that I got this afterlife to fall back on. Okay, that I can worry about. Okay, well, I can do okay now, but then I could go to this afterlife. Okay, no, I don't want to live like that. And I think it's wrong to live like that. I think you should worry about the now, like you said, Dark Matter. And I think anybody that thinks outside the box, or I should say with a narrow path, and don't think outside the box like we do, I think you're just dishonest. You're not really thinking about humanity. You're not thinking about your the future. That's what you should worry about. You know what I mean? What's going to go on after you pass away? You know what I mean? Look about the future. What should we do for our children now? How should we raise our children? How should our children be raised? With an ignorant belief? Come on, man. Let's move on here and get away from this shit. But go ahead. Anybody else want to go on that? Steve or anybody? What Dark Matter said?
Yeah, I'll say something. Well, this whole notion that things are only valuable if they're permanent just makes no sense at all from any perspective. Maybe a few thousand years ago, when most of the fundamental principles of Christianity and of most religions were formulated, they might have made sense, because the illusion of permanence was a lot more complete and a lot more convincing. But now, thanks to modern science, thanks to things like cosmology, like physics, like biology, we know that permanence just really doesn't exist. Literally nothing lasts forever. The most permanent thing that the metaphor that we use to describe permanence, tomorrow the sun will rise. Well, there's going to come a day, someday, when the sun will not rise. This cycle that we perceive as being everlasting is not. It's temporary. It's going to end someday. None of us are going to be here when it does, but that day is going to come. There is no such thing in our lives as permanence on any level. And to make this argument that, well, if your sense of wonder and your discovery and your knowledge and your life experiences, etc., doesn't last forever, then somehow it doesn't have value. It makes absolutely no sense to define it that way. And it's a childish viewpoint. You know, well, what I have isn't enough. I want more. And if I don't get more, then what I have means nothing. That's a tantrum. That's not something that a thoughtful, well-adjusted, reasonable, grown-up person trying to come to terms with life as it is would say. We have what we have. We are born, we live hopefully for a long time, and we die. And we might not like that, but that is the fact. That is the nature of our existence. And we should, I think, be trying to form our concepts of what we value, what we find to be important within that context, and not saying, well, if it doesn't last forever, then it doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing to do that, because that type of permanence is an illusion, and there's no reason for us to attach any sort of value to that at all.
Fucking deep, brother. Very good education.
I think all of that, and the point that it cheapens the life that you have. I mean, if you can't look around and say that, you know, for lack of a better term, this is all I get, and appreciate that and acknowledge the beauty and savor the time that you have, and realize that once that time is gone, it is gone, and you never get it back. You don't get a do-over.
This is true. Yeah.
Make the most of it. I mean, if you're sitting around on the couch eating chips and watching TV and not enjoying your life, when you could be out doing something that, you know, is really cool.
If you were one of the 1,100 people that is sitting on your fat fucking ass watching us right now,
get the hell out of here.
Maybe you should get a fucking life. That's basically what we're telling everybody. But hey, you know.
Yeah.
But you know,
but that's the point. You never get this time back, and you can't get it back. It's over with. So that cheapens that, and it pushes it off, and it gives you, well, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, it doesn't matter. I've got another life, and it'll be so much better over here. And if it is the way we think it is, that is just all of this ability, all of this time, all of this beauty that you missed just because you didn't acknowledge or worry about what you're going to miss if you do run out of time. Well, that's my take on it.
No,
and I'd just like to say that we've all had the experience. Well, no, this is a very poor way of wording it. We've all, at some point, not existed, right? So, I mean, it's not like it's an impossible
that was
concept.
The worst way of wording it I've ever heard. It was.
Yeah. No, the beginning. The beginning. I was going to say we
be
all
scared of death like you were of not being born. You know, the time before you were born, or something like that. Yeah. You won't exist. Didn't exist before you were born. You won't exist after you die.
Yeah, it was Mark Twain. Someone asked him to. Aren't you scared of death? And he goes, no, I wasn't scared before I existed, or something like that. So
before I was my birth. Yeah,
before we get on to my question, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Promote the Skeptic Fence Show.
That's what I'm going to do, actually. Yeah,
we have goddamn David
Silverman on this fucking motherfucking Saturday.
Silverman on the next show.
It was a 90-minute fucking debate, or not debate, interview. And I'm going to play a sample right here. Do you mind? Should I play the sample? The Tide sample?
If you want, or you can make them. Let the people decide if they want the sample. Or
all right, you guys want the Silverman sample? Thumbs up or say yes if you want the Silverman sample. It's only like a 10-second sample. Yeah, it's going to be the Tide sample. We might as well play the Tide sample. We had a fun freaking time with David Silverman. Let me tell you, it's probably one of my... It was a fun... Cockpuss, you were funny, dude. And he loved it. You were funny, he fucking loved it.
I'm always funny. I won't keep me around.
All right, everybody says yes. All right, we'll play a little sample here. Let me get it up here real quick. Oh my god, this is really good, guys, and you're really gonna like it.
And the whole point is show up for the fucking show.
And by the way, the link, if you want to subscribe to the link, you'll see Skeptic Fence Show down below. Refresh if you don't see it in the description down below. But this is really funny.
For those of you that haven't seen it, guys, our next show will be this weekend, this Saturday.
Never miscommunication.
At what is it, 8 o'clock Eastern.
9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
9 o'clock Eastern. Sorry, I'm not in that time zone, so I always screw that up.
That's okay.
But you get to see the Cooter Report live, and you get to see the full interview with Silverman, and so fucking show up to the goddamn. You subscribe to the Skeptic Fence channel, and then fucking show up for the show. It's pretty much that simple.
And subscribe to everybody else here.
We want y'all calling in and asking us questions. So especially if there's anybody out there that is creationist or anything else, guys, we're not going to berate you. We're not going to hammer you. We'll let you talk. So if you want to come on, please do.
Yeah, and here we go with the sample right here. Let's see if David Silverman, which we're not going to let you know if he really answers it or if he does answer, but you're going to find out right now. You're going to have to come and watch the show to see if he does really answer it later on. But here we go. This is funny.
Tide goes in, tide goes out. Never a miscommunication. You can't explain that. You can explain why the tide goes in.
Tide goes in, tide goes out.
See, the water, the tide comes in and it goes out, Mr. Silverman.
Maybe
it
it's
always comes
Thor
in,
on top of Mount Olympus who's making the tides go in and out.
No, but you can't explain that.
So obviously my first question to you is going to be, how do the tides work? Have you figured that out yet?
Actually, we already knew that.
Really?
Yeah, we actually already knew that. And, you know, I get asked often, you know, that's of course the appearance, the preeminent appearance, my most famous appearance ever.
Come on, dude, that was epic. That was fucking funny as shit. So yeah, go if you guys want to see the 90-minute interview. Show up this Saturday night for the Skeptic Fence show. It's gonna be a fun time. Cockpuss, man.
Maybe,
A+, that was good.
It was a really fun interview.
Good.
He knows who I am. He's like, I've seen your videos. I was like,
Yeah, Darkman. We're gonna say anything?
David Silverman wouldn't be an atheist if he knew that the Bible was a real book.
Yeah. Hey guys, by the way, I do. No matter what you say, I have this book.
Oh God.
Oh, is that? Oh God.
No, I
thought it was a Bible.
I want to know how you feel as a creationist now, Cock.
Yeah, I'm going to bed, and you know, it's actually pretty simple now. I've got it all figured out. I'm gonna fucking be loaded. I'm gonna be like that. Remember that really trashy atheist from YouTube? He watched one debate with Ken Ham. Ken Ham convinced him to be a creationist. I'm going to be like the moderator of that fucking museum before you know it. I'm going to fucking cash in on this shit.
You guys are sick. Oh my God, we still have over 1,000 people.
Oh, I just had a freaking awesome idea. Any atheist that goes to that
really?
museum
You have an
from
idea?
now on needs to wear a freaking bow tie. Everybody that goes to that museum is walking there with a fucking bow tie on.
Oh, it's fucking yeah, go do that. That's awesome. That's a good one. I like that. That's funny. That's right. Darkman, were you gonna say something? You were gonna bust on Coctopus, I think, if I know you.
No, I already said what I was gonna say.
Let's I got one more question here. I think Negation might have one more, and maybe we'll wrap this up. I hate to really leave
the table.
I know. I wrote.
Anybody else has got to really ask anything? I don't want to.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Go ahead. Well, I was gonna come up with one more question or something to discuss, and then everybody else could go. But no. What else you guys want to talk about with the debate? You know, if not, I got a question here. It's up to you guys. I really don't
Anybody
care.
else got anything?
What the fuck was that? He's like, so yeah, just want to
do whatever you want. Okay. That's fine. I don't give a shit.
Come on, I've got a good question. Just one more.
What was that movie? What was that movie? Where guys? What you I forget what that question was, but.
Well, does anybody want to say a few words about Ham's bullshit distinction between historical science and observational science?
Oh, jeez, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, that there's obviously no historical science backing up the creation story, but he has absolutely no problem believing that shit. And anything with like a shitload of evidence, like I guess he can just shrug off, and then something with no evidence, he can just make up the evidence as he goes along, and it's a pretty awesome double standard to witness.
Well, it's because people have a problem with when it comes to microevolution, macroevolution, which I think Bill Nye hit a little bit on, is the problem. And I'm going to read you guys a couple comments from our YouTube section here. And okay, you guys can finish up with that guy. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Anybody else want to go on that? Sorry.
Only thing I have to say on it is just to mirror what Nye said. It's science, jackass. It's not historical. It's science. There's one thing. It's not 1,000 things that you're going to break it into and try to classify all these quote-unquote facts. Because, again, it is not just a noun. It's a verb. We use it. There is a method that you go through to discern what is real. And until he understands that, it's just laughable to hear him say shit like that.
It is.
I actually have a point to make about the historical science thing. It used to be scientifically accepted that the sun went around the earth. You know, like scientifically, historically, science has been wrong plenty of times. And then religion, when science tries to correct itself, has often imposed itself and threatened science and scientists. That's back in the day. Ken Ham would have been like the executioner at the guillotine. You know, it was today we're not allowed to do that kind of shit. But back in the day, they would have been like, you know, oh no, we're gonna put you on the fucking stretcher, or if you're gonna say shit like evolution and anything comes from God, you know, doesn't come from God, blah 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 blah. They take that faith to such a fucking level, and they convince themselves that they're the moral ones. That the Bible is moral, and that they know what's best for everybody, and that if they harm people, it's for their own good and shit. Like, it's disgusting.
And you know what pissed me off? That they feel. Well, one real quick, Darkman, you can go real quick. And I'm sorry I interrupted you, but the one thing I hate is they feel they're a higher authority over everybody else, especially us atheists or secular humanists. That's what I can't stand. Like, they're smug about it. Like, you don't fucking know nothing. I know absolute fucking knowledge. I have absolute knowledge, or I have absolute morality. I know what morality is, and it's in the Bible. And they have this higher authority. Like, they feel they're like above us, and that's what pisses me the fuck off. So go ahead, Dark Matter.
Well, what I was going to say is, Ken Ham has this misunderstanding about historical science, you know, versus observational science. And let's say the person that Ken Ham loves most in the world is murdered, and the police, you know, there's no witnesses, nobody saw it happen, but you know, police have DNA evidence, they have fingerprints, they have a murder weapon, you know, they have all kinds of evidence of how it went down. Is Ken Ham going to accept any of that? Or is he just going to say, well, nobody saw it happen?
No, of course. I mean, when science can help you. He's like, I love science. I'll have a cell phone, and I'll have me Apple, and you all can't be poofers, but you got no Sheilas and your boozers.
I am God, and you will listen to me, all of you motherfuckers. I'm just kidding.
Wow. No, really?
That's
You're
amazing.
kidding? Because I really thought that was God, and I'm like, man, and he's only coming in through the headphones.
I was not an atheist for like 2 seconds there. He had me. I thought
all the evidence I need.
Bow down to your master.
Apparently, God's from Jersey.
Hey, you got a fucking problem with that?
Freaking like hair horn on this fucking 5 head.
Yo, what the fuck? Huh? Yeah, come fucking say that shit in my fucking face, motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
One of the things that we've mentioned a few times, and Dark Matter kind of hit on it there, about, you know, which evidence in the criminal investigation would Ken Ham accept. One of the things that he did during the debate, and that Christian apologists, creationists do a lot, is that they will describe an actual philosophical problem that we all have to contend with, and usually describe the problem fairly accurately, and then they'll make up a reason why it doesn't apply to them. And with Ken Ham, it was the case of, well, you know, it was the, well, you weren't there stuff. You know, well, you don't know what happened in the past because you weren't there, and the only way you could know what happened in the past is if someone who was there and knew everything told you what happened. And Ken Ham believes that that's his position, because God wrote the Bible, and he bases his starting point is the Bible, which was written by God, who knows everything and witnessed everything. Therefore, his conclusions are more trustable than ours. And he says, if you don't do that, then if God's not your ultimate authority, then man is your ultimate authority. And you can't trust man as much as you can trust God. He tries to make it sound like Christians, or people who accept his version of Christianity, get to escape this philosophical problem of never having complete certainty. And the problem is that even if you say that God is your ultimate authority, it's still really you. It's still man, because it's you interpreting what you believe to be God's message to you. it all comes down to empirical evidence. Even if you try to argue that it's revelation, that you're getting this directly from God, you're still relying on your senses, your reason, your faculties to interpret and make sense of this data, whether you believe it's coming from God or whether you believe it's coming from what you see and hear in the room around you. There's just no way around this philosophical problem. We can never have true certainty. And the problem with what Ken Ham does is he acknowledges that problem, but then he tries to say, yeah, but we got a way out of it. And he doesn't have a way out of it. He's stuck as a prisoner of his senses just the same as the rest of us are.
No, it's the classic appeal to authority, like he did the whole night.
Yeah, and he established, the way he gets around it is he establishes this book as being infallible.
Mm-hmm.
But what he doesn't get is that from that same book, all these different viewpoints and denominations arise. Who, you know, are they right or are they wrong?
Not to mention
got it right?
translations. Not to mention translations.
That doesn't even begin translations. That's just the beginning of the freaking argument. If you really want to look at the past and the historicity of the Bible, you go into Gnostic, you go into.
It's hard to take something literally if it's not in its original language,
original form. Yeah,
and we have zero original
of the originals.
text.
Exactly. Yeah.
That makes it very problematic.
Yeah, it does, you know. And of course, there's a lot of people out there, documentaries, that would approve, people that are actually theologians, that are Christians, that would actually say that, you know, we don't know what was said. We don't know. A lot of shit got lost in translation. And we have a lot of scribes out there that really fucked up, and we have evidence of how they fucked up and what was really said in this piece of scripture. We don't know. And that's the thing that people need to realize, how fucked up Scripture is. That's the big point that I like to put out, is like, go investigate it. Go read a couple Bart Ehrman books. Go do that. If you're a Christian, go read how fucked up of the evidence that we do have of the Bible, how messed up it really is. Go to Dark Matter.
Here's how fucked up some of the Scripture is. You have Jesus saying that you're a hypocrite if you don't pray alone in seclusion, you know, behind closed doors. And then you have verses of Jesus praying. Who wrote this shit? How do they know what Jesus said to God? Unless he was being a hypocrite, unless he was, you know, praying in front of people.
And you got to remember, back in the, I would say, 1st, 2nd century, which just has been proven too in many texts, is that back then, when the priests and all them made up the decision on how to compile the New Testament canon, and I got a lot of knowledge on this. I've been researching this for 3-4 years now. Is like when they compiled this New Testament, it was a political movement. A lot of Gnostic Gospels were pushed aside. I think Negation might be able to follow up on this. They pushed all this shit aside, man. They said this ain't right until we, you know, what was it, the Naga. What was it called? Negation. The Naga. I forget. The Gnostic Gospels that were just recently, well, not recently found in 1990, I think was, where the Gnostic Gospels were found in Nag Hammadi. It was found in Egypt.
No,
I think it was Egypt. Nag Hammadi were found in Egypt, and it was 50 some odd books, 52 books, Gnostic Gospels, Nag Hammadi. Thank you very much. Some of you already confirmed that for me. Thank you. Nag Hammadi, and it was Gnostic Gospels. They hid them. They hid them from what the majority denomination was back then in the 1st century. They hid them. They tested them, and they said, well, this is 1st century or 2nd century. They found it, and you know what? It contradicts a lot. The reason why they got rid of them, because they said, you know, this is a little bit too far fetched. We're gonna, you know, get rid of this shit, but we're gonna implement this. But it was a very political movement back then, man, to determine what they want to put in New Testament canon. There's a lot of documentaries, a lot of people, a lot of books. Bart Ehrman, you go research it, man. Just open your mind and research it, critical thinking, and look at these claims. It's very telling, man. It's awesome actually. Go ahead. Whoever wants to talk, I'm sorry. Anyone? I guess I cut somebody else. So we're going to go.
I am going to point out the supernova deal. You know, dark matter that plays directly to you. You have to make a supernova building the ark. That would be a great video, man.
The logistics involved.
All right, what do you got to do? We got a couple ideas for here. Dark Matter is the debate. Of course, you want to make something about appeal to authority cartoon, and also what would be a good cartoon. I think would be Ken Ham making his fucking Noah's Ark in the last 3-4 years. Like, research that. That'd be cool. Where, like, he got a tax break for 3-4 years, and then he only has 10% of his funds. And then explain why he didn't fucking get people
Noah
to
didn't
donate
get
to
a
it.
tax break.
Yeah, and exactly. Compare it to, like, Noah back in the day, how he did it, and currently how Ken Ham's doing it. I think it'd be a pretty good fucking animation. Have at it. That would be funny, though, right? I don't know. I don't know, man. Anything else, guys, you want to talk about? I think we talked about a lot, man. So if we want to wrap it up, we can wrap it up if you guys want. Anything else? Closing statements? Anything? And guys, please.
Super Noah.
Yeah, Super
Noah, dude. Noah had superpowers. Remember?
I just noticed your image, man. That's fucking funny shit.
Yeah, hell
Super
yeah.
Noah.
Fuck yeah, Super Noah. He's out to collect food of every kind. Not species, but kind. Because that's creationist word that we use to get around bullshit.
All right, guys, we're going to close it down here. But what I want from all you guys here is to please, down here, refresh if you have to, right down below the video that you're watching. Please subscribe to all these awesome people right here, right now. Steve Shives, Darkmatter2525, Coctopus Prime, Negation of P, and myself, Live Life 8072. And you guys know the reason why I did this is to gather a few awesome fucking people together. Watch the debate so Ken Ham makes less fucking money and just have a good time. You know, in a I guess secular humanist type of environment, I should say, not an atheist, but a secular humanist or a humanist type of environment. So we have a little discourse here with some cool people, you know, people that we enjoy viewing and watching, and just that's it. So guys, closing statements. We'll go to Steve Shive, then the Dark Matter, Coctopus, Negation, and me, and we'll be out of here. Steve Shives, thank you for coming out, man.
Oh, I'm glad I could be here. I had a great time at the pre-show. I had a great time at the post-show, and I had a great time watching the debate. I think Bill Nye did as good as I hoped he would. He really held it down, held up the scientific viewpoint against a lot of classic creationist bullshit from Ken Ham, and I'm really, really pleased with how things turned out. And I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, man. Anytime. And it was really nice to have you. We haven't hung out in a little while there, Steve, so thank you for coming. Dark Matter.
It was very nice, Steve. I haven't ever done a show with you either. It was awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Steve. This was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
It was. I had a great time.
Yeah. Dark Matter 2525. What's up, bitch?
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me and everything. I was glad to be here. It was fun. I like everybody on the show, you know, so that's cool. And I just think that it's funny. It's funny how Bill Nye and Ken Ham, how their positions kind of emulate who they are. You know, Bill Nye is actually able to respond to questions and change and adapt to the situation at hand and what's going on in the debate, like evolution. And Ken Ham is just rigid and can't cope at all, and he doesn't. You know, he stays the same. He doesn't evolve like scripture. He can't cope with new findings and new information. And when presented with certain questions, he won't even risk an answer. If he doesn't know it, he'll just go right back onto his train tracks of his comfortable viewpoint and reiterate things he said a million times before.
Yep.
And that is the recipe for a dying ideal. You know, it's if you can't change and adapt to the situation, then you're doomed. And I think that this religion is doomed, barring any kind of worldwide tragedy. I think the only thing that can save it is some kind of huge tragedy. Economic or war, you know, depression. That's the only thing that can save this religion. But all right, I'm kind of going off on a big tangent.
No, you're good and very well said. But I just got a message here on. I just got a message on our promotion video here, Dark Matter, and it's for you. It was a question to you, Dark Matter. If you want to answer this before Negation and Coctopus goes, the question is why is Dark Matter 2525 such a fine piece of ass? You want to answer that, Dark Matter? I'm sorry. There's somebody asked me that question.
Well, I didn't really want to get into that because you know, it kind of exposes me as a. I mean, the only way it could be is if there was a God that created me. I mean, it can't. An ass like this can't just arise naturally. So.
That's.
I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to come out here and just.
I'm surprised half you guys didn't even
ass
laugh.
proves God.
So I guess you do have a fine piece of ass. Okay, good. All right, good to hear. Thanks, Darkmatter, for coming out, man. I appreciate it, man. Good to have you on. Coctopus. Closing statement, bitch.
Yeah, it was actually a very interesting. I'd say our show was more interesting, just because we're fucking so awesome. But I mean, that's just me.
That's
personally,
exactly
I thought
it's just you.
I thought I was hilarious and insightful. I didn't come off as drunk or stoned at all. I'd give myself a 9 out of 10.
Oh, guys! I mean, like seriously, before Negation goes or Coctopus fish, guys, you gotta show up for the Skeptic Fence show this Saturday. Coctopus was a fucking pleasure to have, man, as a co-host. It was fucking phenomenal. It's funny, and he also does a good report every episode with us. But you want to finish up, Coctopus? If not, we're gonna go to a Negation here.
Yeah, I do want to say everybody should show up for that fucking Skeptic Fence show next week, because it really is. I really did a good job. I was really funny, and I was really insightful in that interview. I give myself a 9 out of 10. You should check it out.
And the most impressive thing is how humble he is. It's just amazing.
Very humble.
How can he be that
on
good?
a scale of
never...
1 to 10 on humbleness?
Yeah, I think we all know this here.
I give myself a 9 out of 10 on humble.
I think that this closing statement is also a 9 out of 10.
Thank you.
Oh my god, this video is gonna be awesome at the end. Oh, I can't wait to get it going. Go ahead, Negation.
No, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the bow tie business and go park my ass right in front of the Creation Museum. And when they ask me what the hell I'm doing, I'm saying, dude, I thought freaking Nye, you know, since he owned your ass so freaking bad, he owned this place now. So that's, you know, so, no, again, thank everybody. It was really fun, and we'll see y'all this weekend. That's all I've got.
Man, again, before we get out of here, which we're going to here right now, guys, we still have 722 people in here. Coctopus, you doing an after show or no? No? You're out.
Oh, God.
I know it's tempting for you, motherfucker.
You probably only get like 100 people.
Yeah, I'm done. But, guys, seriously, thank you, man. This is great. It was off the cuff. It was last minute for me. I just really compiled it in last week. Got some graphics done, and I want to put out a thank you again to my friends here, Steve Shives, Darkmatter2525, Coctopus Prime, Negation of P, and their links are right below the video as we end here. Please go subscribe to these guys if you like what they had to say. Go support these guys, man. These are some really cool people, man, I really enjoy talking to. And that being said, guys, I'll put a little promotion out for the Skeptic Fence show. Please join us this Saturday. Link is also down below.
All right. Go ahead. Put a link up to my Vaughn real quick.
I'll do that. Okay. He wants to do a show, so
it's going to be a quick one.
It's going to be a quick one. Darkmatter. Darkmatter, when's the next video coming out before we get out of here? Come on. Give us something.
I don't know. I'm working on ideas.
No ideas yet?
So,
okay.
Yeah. Well, by the way, what happened to Price?
I tried to call him back. I called him on his phone during this debate. He wouldn't answer, dude. I have no idea. I called him. I got his cell phone number, 919 number. I called him, wouldn't answer. Didn't pick up. Nothing, dude. Gone. You see how many times I try to add him in the pre-show? Add him. He wouldn't come back. Then he just kicked off of Skype, and he was just gone, man. I was just like, what the hell, man? I was like, okay, whatever. But now I feel bad because I don't know if he lost connection, lost the internet, or what's going on, but I don't know what the hell went on. But yeah, I feel bad because I really want to have him on. You know, he talked a little bit, but you know, it happens. You know. Yeah.
Anybody else got anything, Steve, or anybody else?
We are out of here. I'll edit this show. I'll edit the post, give it all to you guys, all the links when it's up, and then we'll roll with it, man. It was a great, really good rational discourse, civil discourse we had tonight, post and pre. You guys are the best. And guys, thank you. Guys, if it wasn't for all you out there, not just saying, you know, I thank Darkmatter, Steve Shives, Coctopus, myself, Negation, Matthew Steele, you know, anybody else that promoted, all you guys that promoted, all you guys that shared on Facebook, Twitter, to come here and just said, screw fucking Ken Ham. We're not going to view his fucking debate on his live feed so he gets more money. Come here, and you did it here. I appreciate it. I would never have thought that we would hit 1,900 people. Seriously, I was only thinking 300-400 people with everybody promoting a little bit on their Facebooks or whatever. We hit 1,900. Freaking amazing, because everybody liked the messages I had. Fuck him, come over here, watch it here, and I'll try to give you at least a good quality feed, and I think it was a good quality feed.
Between I give you 9 out of 10 for taking credit.
between
This is what I think about,
awesomeness and Dark Matter's ass, what else do you expect?
And Steve Shives' beard, look at it. He has a nice little beard going on there, man. Come on now.
I touch myself while I look at your beard.
I know, he has a better beard than you, fucking cock.
I know.
You can't help it.
I touch myself while I look at it.
And he's right in Maryland. He's in Maryland. He's not too far from me. Well, I'm coming down to Florida very soon. You guys know that. I know I already told you guys fucking January, but it's coming down soon. But okay, we're out of here. We're going overboard here. So guys, we're gonna quit right now. Thank you guys. We appreciate it, and it was an historic night. And I'll get this video up very soon.
Put a link up to my.
I already did. This is Coctopus. He's going right now. There it is, 5 times in a row. Go over there, click that link right now. Go over to Coctopus Prime Show and check him out for a little bit, guys. Love you guys. Be good. All right.